Hello and welcome back to the channel. So I'm currently at RSPB Lakenheath in my camper van, and the reason I'm here is because Lumix have kindly sent me out this new lens on loan. So this is the Panasonic Leica 200mm F2.8, and this is something that I've really wanted to get my hands on for a long time now. So they've actually sent it out with the 1.4 times teleconverter, so we can go from 200mm to 280mm, and that'll be a f4 with a teleconverter attached. So my initial impressions, just holding the lens. I mean, walking around Lakenheath, I expect to make many elderly boyfriends with such a nice big looking lens. That's quite amusing. And yeah, it's got the usual sort of switches like you've got on the 100 to 400. So you've got your AF MF switch, your power OIS on and off. You've got your focus limiter, so you've got your full distance, and you can click the little switch to have it only focus on objects further than 3 meters away to infinity. And there's also a memory cool switch as well, which is pretty useful. Say you're photographing two things in two different spots, you can set your focus area up and call that back from memory, so you could go from something really far away to something really close really quickly, because that's stored in the memory. It's not something that I think I would use very often, but it's a nice feature to have. We also have our Aperture Dial here, and yeah, a massive lens hood. So just comparing the two lenses, this is my 100 to 400 with, well, complete with camouflage, and that is the 200. So to be fair, if you were to take both the lens hoods off, there's not a huge difference in size between the two, although obviously this lens is fixed, it's a prime lens, whereas this sort of trombones and zooms in and out. My initial impressions, first thing that I've noticed just sort of picking it up, is that it feels noticeably heavier than the 100 to 400. So obviously it's got a teleconverter attached, which weighs about 200 grams, but combined with the teleconverter, this is 1.4 kilos, which contrasts with the 100 to 400's 985 grams. Without the teleconverter, it's 1245 grams. So it's not a massive weight gain, but it's something that I definitely have noticed. So yeah, that's just one thing to be aware of. It makes sense. It's an f2.8 constant prime lens. It's a good chunk of glass. It's allegedly one of the sharpest lenses you can get on the whole Micro Four Thirds system. So I'm really looking forward to using it. The first thing that I did is I did a test with the 100 to 400, and basically it was a depth of field test. So what I did was set the 200mm to f2.8 at 200mm. I set the 100 to 400 at f5.1 200mm, took shots to compare the depth of field, and then I did the same with the 1.4 teleconverter attached. So that takes us to 280mm at f4. I then set the 100 to 400 at 280, which gives you f5.6, and then compare the depth of field. Now, it wasn't the most amazing background, it wasn't a scientific test, I wasn't on a tripod and exactly in the same spot, but you can definitely see that there's a much creamier and out of focus background. And one thing to note is that I kept the ISOs the same, but you were able to use such higher shutter speeds on this lens because you're just letting so much more light in. So yes, it's nice to get your kind of blurry backgrounds if you're into all that sort of thing, but you're also being able to get increased shutter speeds because you're letting so much more light in. What's my reasoning for wanting this lens? Well, the thing is, the 100 to 400 is a great lens. It served me for, I think, 6 or 7 years now, and it's absolutely been the workhorse. But there are situations where you want that shallower depth of field. you want that increased low light performance. And there's a few options you can choose from in the Micro Four Thirds catalogue. Now you could go for the 300mm Olympus F4. The issue with that is that Panasonic and Olympus cameras and lenses don't always talk too nicely together. By that, you will potentially have issues with autofocus, and your dual image stabilization won't work on each other's cameras. So that's a little bit annoying, but it's not a massive deal breaker. For me though, 300mm is a nice kind of sweet spot. It's a really good focal length, but you've only got f4. As soon as you whack on a 1.4 teleconverter, I think that takes it to f5.6. So yeah, it's not like the most amazing sort of aperture. Then you've got the 50 to 200 f2.8 to 4, and again you're sacrificing the aperture. So f2.8 sure at 50mm, but at 200 and quite a lot below that, you're getting up into the higher apertures quite quickly. It's also not got a tripod foot like the 100 to 400 and this lens has. So although it's a brilliant all-purpose lens, just with the 12 to 60, the 50 to 200 and the 100 to 400, you're covering a massive focal range, but it didn't really solve my problem in wanting better low light performance and something that's super sharp. Now you've also got the new sort of OM Systems 150 to 400 with the 1.25 teleconverter with f4.5. That's not really within my budget. I think it's about £7,000. It's a brilliant lens. It's probably worth £7,000, but I don't see myself ever being able to justify spending that amount of money on wildlife photography. It is what it is. If I had huge sums of money and £7,000 was like £100, sure, not a problem, but that definitely is not the case. So that really, it sort of leaves this lens. You've got the 40 to 150 f2.8 Pro from Olympus again. That is a constant f2.8, but it is a zoom lens, and I get the impression you're going to give up some sharpness because it's not a prime. And also, even with the teleconverter, you're going to get 210mm, which I think you're getting a bit short. In full frame terms, this would be equivalent to 560 and the Olympus would be 420. So I've only been using this for one day and I've had it with the 1.4 teleconverter on. I'm just not sure the Olympus lens would be worth it, partially because of the fact it is a zoom, which can be incredibly useful in other genres. But yeah, just I think it's going to be missing the focal length, and the fact that it's Olympus, you sort of lose some of the advantages going over to Lumix. One thing that I did notice with regards to autofocus, I thought initially that the autofocus had slowed down with the 1.4 teleconverter, but I think that was unfounded. I was trying to photograph bees at f4 with very messy backgrounds, and it's not really a shock that the animal detect focus wouldn't really pick them up. I also thought that there was a lack of sharpness with the teleconverter on, and then what happened, I went out yesterday evening, basically went out with the teleconverter attached and got loads of shots that I'm really impressed with. Got some herons, swans, some small birds, some deer. It's a really good experience. I'll leave all those pictures up at the end of this video. But yeah, I am not concerned about the autofocus. As soon as I started to think that it may be an issue, I put it in animal detect, pointed it through my sort of rabbit's cage in my garden, and it locked onto the rabbit's eye, even through the cage instantly. So I was like, okay, I don't think it's an issue. I think it was more just in that scenario, it wasn't so good. So yeah, only other things to note is that this aperture dial, it's brilliant because you can change very quickly. But if you put it on f2.8, when you use the lens or use the manual focus, it's really easy to knock it off, and you can be at f3.5 or f4 quite easily. So I've taken to put it in the A mode here, meaning I can control the aperture on the camera. That's something that caught me out a little bit at first as well. All in all, my first impressions of this lens is everything that I was hoping it was going to be. I just want to thank Lumix for actually sending this out to me. I really appreciate the opportunity to try out new gear. I mean, the last time Lumix sent me an item out for loan was the G9 II, and well, look what I went out and bought. So I got an impression this might happen with this lens. So yeah, what I'll do now, I'll show you some photos and videos, the small amount that I got yesterday evening. And like I said, I'm actually really impressed. For day one of using this camera and lens combination together, I am really impressed with the results. Now, I'm at RSPB Lakenheath today, and like I said, I've used the lens pretty much with the 1.4 teleconverter on at the moment, just because it's kind of the worst case scenario and because I want that sort of focal length. Hopefully I'll be able to go into Meerhide, which potentially I might see kingfishers. That'll be a perfect situation because they perch quite close. That would be a perfect situation to try the lens without the teleconverter on, and we'll see just how good, just how sharp, and yeah, see how sort of blurry those backgrounds look. So yes, I'll leave all those images up now, but thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful, please hit the like button, it really does help. And if you've got any questions on this lens or any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments below. I've babbled on for long enough now, so I'll leave you the images in the video, and until next time.